And are you saying that you and your first husband are here, or I don't understand, but it's okay. It's okay. Alrighty, so we live. Let's do this. Let's do this. So, for the folks who are here, natural alternative to hormonal replacement therapy. Yes, 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 yes. It's all going to be, we're going to talk about this at the end. But I would like to start talking about the fundamentals. The fundamentals that keep you alive, the fundamentals that keep you young and healthy. That is your cell. Okay, we always start from cell. And the cell is that unit, that life on the planet started from the cell. If you really think about it, there was no life. There's no animals, no humans, nothing was there. The only thing that we had is a cell. And that cell, bacteria, whatever it was, started evolving and multiplying and growing and growing and growing and turning into 8 cells, 80 cells, 800 cells, 8 billion cells. And now here we are. We have animals, we have people, we have all these beautiful creatures on our planet. But way before there was life. Life was in the form of just one little cell. And that cell knows how to feed itself. This cell knows how to detoxify itself, how to cleanse itself. So imagine the cell is just one city that can sustain itself alive if it has to. It has all the mechanisms. And inside of the cell, you have compartments. So the first compartment, the main compartment, which is like a city hall, it is a database of information about you. Anything that happened to you even before you were born, which is your DNA. Why? Because you take information from your father, you take information from your mother. They took the information from their father and from their mother. And here we go. The whole ancestry is actually written there. So you about everything about you, the way you look, the way you talk, the way you dress, the way you think, the way you express yourself, the way you digest food, the way you digest information, the emotions, everything is written there. It's all there. And then until recently, we used to say, once you have these genes, it runs in your family, it's genetic. It's like, that's it, you're done. There is no other way. It's done. It's your destiny. But then with all the studies in the science that we have today, all the research that we have in the past almost 60 years, now we know that genes actually could be turned on and turned off. Yes, there's some technologies that we can alter genes, but we're not talking about this. We're talking about simple people living simple life, not doing anything extraordinary. But you guys have to, I'm talking to different cameras, so that's why I'm going to be shifting my gaze. But you guys should understand that all of us have this information in our body, all of us. And we humans, our body is designed such that we could actually heal ourselves. Believe it or not, it's all there. As long as you just step away, your body knows how to heal. Okay. So that's your DNA. And then you have other organelles. Some of them produce proteins. Some of them digest glucose. Some of them remove garbage and waste material, because imagine it's like a kitchen or it's a factory where things are being produced and things are being removed. And of course, you're going to develop waste material. And then sometimes waste can go from outside into the cell. That is another waste. So you have all these systems that cleanse, like ventilation systems, so to speak, all these pathways that take these toxins and remove it, and cleanses it. So when this flow of food in and garbage out works, this is when we call it healthy body, young, healthy body. So when you're young and healthy, everything flows. Everything is beautiful. You feel good. Look at children. They're happy all the time. Why? Because everything flows on the physical level. Okay. And plus, their mind is not polluted yet with our belief system, what we usually get as a program as we age. So now the next thing, a very important thing in our cell, is the structure called mitochondria. And the reason why you're alive, the reason why you have functioning organs, the reason why you breathe, the reason why you produce heat, the reason why you have digestion, metabolism, all the chemical reactions, the reason why you can talk, walk, exercise, have sex, the reason why you have that ability is because you have energy. If you don't have energy, we call it you don't have life, right? So when the body's dead, there's no energy in there. Energy is left. So there is a structure in your system, in your cell, that produces energy. And that structure called mitochondria. So for those who don't know, a lot of you already know this story, but again, going back to many, many billion years ago, billions of years ago, when life on the planet was just a one cell organism, this one big cell engulfed a small cell that had astonishing ability of creating a huge amount of energy. It's just that that was the cell. So it was engulfed by the other cell, and instead of fighting and being digested by this big cell, that small cell got into process of, we call it negotiation. It's ultimate diplomacy, where it stayed alive. And in physiology, it's called symbiosis, meaning that when we live together, we help each other, and that's why we survive. And that's what happened between these two cells. Big cell protected the small cell because that small cell, which then turned into mitochondria, doesn't have any protection. It's very vulnerable. It's very gentle. It doesn't have any layer that protects. Cell, on the other hand, has that protection. So it protects it. But in exchange to it, that little cell produces energy. So it's a power plant. And because of that energy, you breathe, you eat, you talk, you walk, you live, you have metabolism, you have body temperature. If you don't have that little microorganism, you don't have life. And mitochondrial problems are the main problem of our diseases. So someone asked a question about thyroid. How come I have inflammation in my thyroid and I do not have antibodies? It's the initial inflammation, thyroiditis, that your body still did not produce antibodies yet. Okay? So it could be one of those states that is just the beginning. But inflammation is inflammation. And when you have inflammation, that means you have a lot of waste material inside a cell that is not being removed. And as a result, that inflammation becomes toxic to everything around it, including your mitochondria. And as a result, mitochondria gets damaged and become dysfunctional. And you have several mitochondria in one cell. Some cells have a lot of mitochondria, and some organs have just a little bit. So the number of mitochondria start to decrease. And as a result, we develop a dysfunctional cell. Okay? In some cases, it could be thyroid. In some cases, it could be neuron. And we develop multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, you name it, you know? And it could be anything, any disease that comes from chronic inflammation. Now, what happens, what mitochondria does not like is mitochondria does not like toxins. Toxins could be coming from actual toxins that the body is being exposed to, the toxins in your food, alcohol, toxins that you inhale through smoking or smoke on the streets, polluted air. So all these toxins go into your system. And that can damage your, not can, it damages your mitochondria, right? And as a result, affects it. And the cell becomes dysfunctional and starts aging faster. So when you have a lot of inflammation, the lifespan of the cell shortens. And when the lifespan shortens, first starts with the cell, then the tissue, then the organ, then the whole body. That's how we age. Okay, aging doesn't happen like this. It's a process. So it starts from these tiny little microscopic processes. Okay, so toxins, heavy metals, sugar. And it's funny how mitochondria needs carbohydrates in order for it to function. It needs mitochondria. I mean, it needs sugar. But when you have too much of a sugar, it gets overwhelmed and then creates this, we call it oxidative stress. So basically, if you translate it plain English, it turns into rusty material that becomes toxic to everything else around it. Okay? So sugar, excess sugar is not good. What else it doesn't like? It doesn't like stress. So one of the most common reasons why we age faster, we get diseases, is chronic stress. So we have this organ, endocrine organ in our body called adrenals. And we produce all sorts of neurotransmitters. Adrenals produce cortisol, adrenals produce norepinephrine, epinephrine. So there's a different, I'm not going to bore you with the whole anatomy, but there is a area in the adrenals and they sit above your kidney, like a tiny little, like 1 centimeter glands. They sit above your kidney and they produce, like inside of it, they produce something called like adrenaline, which you need in acute stress. If you're being chased by a tiger, if you're being like, if you're in danger, this is when it kicks in. Or when you have a thrill, adrenaline, that also, this is when you get your the medullary part of adrenal activated. And that is acute, meaning that it just happens when you have acute stress. But when you have chronic stress, which is nagging stress that just goes on and on and on and on, that stress usually happens if you don't get enough sleep. If your sleep is not good, we're going to talk about that. If you are constantly under emotional pressure, if you're under physical stress, excessive exercise. So there's a lot of ways to stress your body. So if you're under these stresses, or if someone's going through surgery, it's also physical, it's a surgical stress. Endocrinological stress, there's so many ways to stress your cells. So that stress affects your mitochondria and decreases the lifespan of the cells, decreases the amount of mitochondria. Now, let's talk about sleep a little bit because people think that if you sleep 9 hours a day, 8 hours a day, that's enough. It's not so much the amount of sleep; it's how much of time you spend in the certain phases of your sleep, and also consistency. Consistency. Yeah, someone's saying telomeres. Yeah, we're going to talk about telomeres as well. But when you have this chronic stress, it shortens your telomeres, and that is the sign of aging. So when you sleep, you have this stage of sleep when it's very deep. It's a deep, 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 deep sleep. And that phase is the phase when everything gets reset. Your whole entire endocrine system, your nervous system, your sympathetic parasympathetic nervous system, everything gets reset during that time. So you need to be in that state at least 2 hours, optimally 3 hours. So technically, If you sleep that 3 hours, and the rest of the time you're sleeping, and let's say altogether you're sleeping 6 hours, but good 3 hours of deep sleep, and every day you're getting that, you have consistency. That should be good, should be enough. But then again, it depends on your genes. If you have certain genes, like let's say gene COMT, COMT gene, that gene, usually someone has that expression of that gene. These people are not a morning people. These people need to sleep more. Okay. So another thing that also can affect your sleep is vitamin D deficiency, big time. Vitamin B deficiency, B6, B5, B1, they affect your ability to go into that deep sleep. So the best way to know your sleep cycle is how many days to establish consistency. Yeah, that's a good question. So first of all, it's good to have something like this that actually monitors you. And if you're wearing something like this, then you need to have at least 2 weeks of reading in order for you to understand what is happening with your body. Okay. So this is called Whoop. There's a lot of like a Aura ring. There's a lot of those biometrics that you could use, but you could check. And then consistency is basically at least 2 weeks of consistency when you start seeing changes. And this is going to show you the actual tangible changes in your heart rate, resting heart rate, changing in your heart rate variability. And guess what? Heart rate variability, it tells you if it's too low, it tells you that your body in the chronic space, in the chronic stress space, you are having too much of a sympathetic discharge. And guess what you're doing? You're damaging your mitochondria. You see? So it's the quality of sleep. It's the consistency of sleep that matters the most. And in order for you to get that, you need to have enough of magnesium in your body, GABA in the body, melatonin, your natural melatonin. I'm not talking about taking, we're talking about your physiology. And my philosophy is to activate as much as possible your own natural resources that your body knows how to utilize. You can take it from food, you can take it from activities, you utilize that and use it. And in some cases, yes, you have to take vitamins, like vitamin D. We are chronically deprived in vitamin D. Magnesium, unfortunately, we have to take magnesium because the food, the soil, everything is depleted. So we have to substitute ourselves with that. So that is sleep and stress. That's what mitochondria does not like. And I would say what mitochondria does like is opposite: rest, calm, parasympathetic nervous stimulation, which is your breath work with oxygen. With when you're doing breath work, you're bringing oxygen, which that's what mitochondria wants. It needs more oxygen, and you're bringing also stimulation of your vagal nerve, which is your parasympathetic nervous system. So you have two systems. Remember adrenals that I was talking about, the acute stress, chronic stress. So every time when you're under stress, there is a system called sympathetic nervous system. It's responsible for you to respond quickly. It makes you fast, makes you sharp, makes you quick, makes you smart. And it's good. You need that. So you can't be just parasympathetic. Parasympathetic makes you peace and calm. So when you have disbalanced parasympathetic, that peace and calm goes into unmotivation, laziness. So you don't want that too much. You need everything in balance. Same thing with sympathetic nervous system. In sympathetic nervous system, you need what? Calm down this sympathetic go, because if you do too much go, then you can create inflammation. You can create anxiety. You can create this chronic stress that we're talking about. See? Now, so we were talking about what it likes. It likes oxygen. It likes light. Light. Life comes from sunlight. Sunlight has red light, ultraviolet, white light, blue light. All sorts of lights come from the sun. And it depends on the position of the sun, how far it's from the horizon. how many degrees is from the horizon, the sun, the daylight, changes the frequency and the nature of the light. The red light, if you want to have natural red light therapy, early in the morning, sunrise and sunset. That's why it's red. Okay, this is when you get that. You need ultraviolet, do it a little later, 10, 15 degrees above horizon. This is when you start getting your ultraviolet. And that's what mitochondria absolutely adores, because it brings life. Now, there are some things that also to consider. So we spoke about adrenals, that they can affect your health of your mitochondria. But there's another endocrine organ that absolutely vital in the health of your mitochondria. So they work together. If you don't have good mitochondria, that organ gets sick, and vice versa. If that organ gets sick, mitochondria diminishes. And that organ is your thyroid. Thyroid is the conductor of all endocrine orchestra. So when thyroid is out of control, have you noticed, for someone who knows what thyroid problems are, every organ in the body suffers. The hair, the skin, the bowel, the bones, the heart, everything, because it controls everything. It's a conductor. Whether it's hyper, whether it's hypo, it doesn't matter. It controls that. So the same way, it can heal and nurture your mitochondria or vice versa. And then when your mitochondria is suffering, it doesn't bring enough energy to your, oh, thank you, Ari. It doesn't bring you so much energy into your thyroid. So as a result, thyroid suffers. You see, it's an interaction between each of them. Mitochondria interacts with every cell in your body, every organ in your body. And that's why mitochondria is the key. So methylene blue. Methylene blue is amazing thing. But again, it's not I'm not advising you to do it. It's not medical advice. It's just the way methylene blue works. You take methylene blue and it enhances the work of mitochondria. What else is there? I'm just giving you what else is there today in medicine that we could consider mitochondria. There are non-FDA and FDA approved peptides. So FDA approved peptide called SS31, it's a generic name for it. So it's approved for very rare condition called Wars syndrome. It's a condition when the person starts developing scar tissue everywhere in the body, in the muscles, and then eventually in the heart muscle, and then eventually dies. It's a very, very rare, but very nasty condition. And it is a mitochondrial problem. It's a disease of mitochondria. So FDA approved this peptide, SS31, specifically for that. Now, the price of that medication the pharmaceuticals are selling, the yearly dose is $800,000, almost $1 million a year. It's very expensive. But there are peptides that in the research labs, in investigational labs, people buy. I'm sure you heard of them. It's called peptide therapies labs, compound pharmacies. So these peptides could be purchased at, but doctor like me cannot give you a prescription for that. You can buy them from certain places, but again, you have to be careful because there are places that very shady. You don't know what type of things that they're mixing. So you really, if you go for it, for this route, you have to make sure that you know exactly, you do your research, and you buy it from investigational, reputable labs, pharmacies that have a good credentials. Again, not medical advice, just education. What else? Good for mitochondria? Cold showers, sauna, anything that makes you sweat, anything that makes you move your lymph, amazing for mitochondria. So that is the physiology of mitochondria. And now I want to talk about mystery of mitochondria, because there's another part of mitochondria that I really want you to know. And for those who are not interested in mystical portion of it, sorry, but I am. I'm fascinated by human body. I'm fascinated by our emotions and the creature called human that has this physical body has emotions able to express itself, joy, happiness, sorrow, all these emotions. And at the same time, it digests food, it digests the world. And then there is also something else. If I put electrodes to this body, I able to read your energy. That's how we read electrocardiograms. That's how we read encephalograms, your brain, because we emit electrical energy. Now we also know that we emit certain energies or we absorb certain energies. That's how we work with X-rays. That's how we work with MRIs. There's so many energies that we don't know yet, not because they don't exist. They do exist. We don't know how to read them yet. We don't have tools to discover them. Like Wi-Fi. Can you see Wi-Fi? No. Did you know about Wi-Fi 30, 40 years ago? No. Was it there? Of course it was. See what I'm saying? So we do have that energy inside us. And that energy is being produced, like I said, by mitochondria. And one of the things it does, it produces easy water, extracellular water. What is that? So when you drink water, it goes into your body, it goes into your blood, it goes into the cell. It's intracellular water. But there is another type of water that's called E and Z, easy water, extracellular water. That one is being produced on the surface of the membrane of the cell, and it creates the charge of the cell. Okay, that is the water that holds the cell intact and also creates the charge. That's why we're able to read your echocardiograms and electrocardiograms and so forth. That charge measured in millivoltage. In clinical settings, we don't do that. It's also could be done in, it's only could be done in research labs when we could read your cell. Healthy, beautiful, newborn baby, if you put electrodes and measure the cell, the voltage, millivoltage of the cell, that cell is between 80 to 100 millivolts, healthy. Then time goes on, and when you're in your 40s, it's usually like 50, depends on your lifestyle, depends if you're healthy, depends if you have any medical problems. And as you age and as you get older and as you get sicker, the voltage goes lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. And when it reaches 20, this is when they found millivoltage of minus 20 millivolts equals cancer. So cancerous bodies emit millivoltage of minus 20. It all comes from mitochondria. How's that? And there are some energy enhancement systems in the world, in the United States. Look it up, energy enhancement system. And I want you to look it up and read about them. I personally have that system in my office in New York City, but they're everywhere in the world. And it's basically the system where when you sit in the system, it's a light system. When you spend an hour, your charge of your cells of millivoltage changes. And it's proven. Okay. So that's one of the ways to support your mitochondria. Bring your cellular charge up. And if you ask me what makes easy water, hydration, sunlight, oxygen. Same thing that mitochondria loves, because that's what mitochondria does. It creates this easy water. And now we're going to start talking about the mighty part of mitochondria, because it is almighty. And I'll tell you the story. So again, we're going back to the creation itself, right? When the cell, big cell, engulfed small cell. So that small cell has its own DNA. So now you have your cell that has your DNA about your father and your mother. Okay, you have two strands interlinked together, and you're carrying all that information from your ancestors. Besides that, in your cell, you also have this mitochondria that has its own DNA. Because remember, it came from outside. So it's not related to you, kind of, but it has the DNA. What this DNA came from? Why don't we just look into it and see what's in there? First of all, it has 37 genes, not 38, not 36, it's 37. These 37 genes, this mitochondria, is being passed to you and to everybody else only through their mother. Only through their mother. So, because of that, scientists were able to track migration of humans by checking their mitochondria. Migration of humans, and were able to get all the way to the bottom of the first original woman. Well, in scriptures, they call them Eve. Scientists are now saying, well, there was one woman, apparently, that had this mitochondria and gave it to everybody else, for men and women. In scriptures, we call her Eve. There's a lot of interesting things that if you start digging more and more and more, you start seeing correlation. Like, whoa, right? Next thing, mitochondria has 37 genes, and it can be divided. And that's why it's whole. It comes one, undivided, unsolicited, unchanged. One given to you. In your DNA, in your gene that you took from your mom and from your dad, your DNA, you have genes that are responsible for good and bad, disease and ease. In mitochondria, you have genes only bringing you love, empowerment, joy, safety, you name it. All these beautiful qualities or energies. And isn't it interesting that it's coming from only from feminine lineage? So I call it divine feminine, and it brings energy, divine feminine energy. When your mitochondria is producing energy, you feel good, you feel happy, your power, your millivoltage increases, you feel elated. That is that sacred energy. Think about it. And you're not going to find it anywhere in the world, because I myself, by doing this, it came to me. And I started going more and more and more deeper in the rabbit hole, and I'm still going. So every time I'm going to be telling you more and more facts about mitochondria, but this is one of them, one of the established facts now in my head. And then I'm reading about ancient scriptures where they discovering and talking about the mother, the ancient mother, or the sacred mother. Every nation has a sacred mother. Why is that? Forget Christianity, forget that. Every other nation, culture has sacred mother. What do they mean by that? It must be something there. That's why I call them mitochondria. See what I'm saying? And then another interesting thing with mitochondria, there is a mathematics in there. So if you basically when you read works of Nikola Tesla, I'm not talking about car Tesla, I'm talking about actual original Nikola Tesla, who was the biggest inventor and the brightest mind of the whole existence. So that guy said, if humans knew the power of 3, 6, and 9, we would discover the secret of universe. That's what he said. So he was very big in power, in numbers. So he had his own combination of numbers, and that's how he discovered. He's the one who discovered X-ray. He's the one who discovered Wi-Fi. He's the one who defied gravity. He has all that, and read about him. He's a very interesting dude that lived in 1940s, 1950s, and when he created all these beautiful things. And he was tapped in through numbers. So if you take 37, number 37, which is 37 genes in mitochondria, 37, and you start multiplying by 3, 37 multiplied by 3, it's going to come as 11, 111. Then you take 37 and you multiply by 6. It comes 2, 2, 2. So 111, which is number 3, it's activation. Okay, it's a first number in the universe. In numerology, it's called activation. The second number is balance, duality, yin and yang, feminine, masculine, positive, negative, dark and light. Okay, this is that. And then if you multiply 37 by 9, it's going to be 333. It represents Trinity. And if you keep just multiplying, it keep going 333, 444, 555, 666, 777, 999. So mathematical equation. Then you take the same 37 number. By the way, it's a prime number. That means it's not divided. It can be divided. Then you look at in astrophysics, 37 is one of those, they call it clock of the universe. Rubidium is the element, 37th element in the periodic table. Okay. Then you look at the scriptures, 37. In Torah, I'm reading it right now. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Has numerical value 2701, which equals 37 times 73. So it's basically 37 and then invert. It's all numerology. And for those who are like, what the hell is that? What is she talking about? I dare you to go and start digging. In Quran, they say Surah 37 was talking about resurrection, light, again, mitochondria, light, energy, resurrection. Breathe into what seemed dead. Okay. Now we're going Sufism. They talk about 37 symbols of God breathed into Adam. Okay. Now you go into Buddhism. 37 wings of awakening and ascending of the soul. Now you go to what else is there? So basically, I'm checking all these. It was just crazy, the correlation. And 37 genes, undivided genes in mitochondria. And all it brings is positivity, clean energy, beauty, love, support. Isn't that interesting? So that is the chemistry and spirituality of mitochondria. And that's why when you breathe, you're not just bringing the oxygen, but you awakening these codes. And by the way, I wrote the book. For those who are interested, it's in my bio, book called Breath Code. It's basically research. It's scientific research where I listed all the research that we have today on the planet, how particular breath work, it was proven that particular breath work can activate specific gene expression. So you could just read it and it's analysis. So it's very scientific, but also in the same time, it has exercises of the breath work. Okay, so you could just play with that and see. But breath work is powerful because once you start stimulating mitochondria, now you're producing ATP. ATP is energy. Energy is life. Life is beautiful. So that is my talk about mitochondria. Do you have any questions so far? Do you sell fire extinguisher here? Yeah, we do. I'm talking about fire extinguisher, which is your breath work, anti-inflammatory. Now, there were questions before we started. People were asking about hormone balance and so forth. Well, here's call tired and spinal cord things. Okay, good morning, doc. How am I to feel cold on my knees and feeling cold and tired? Again, it all goes back to mitochondria. Start working on the cellular level. Start detoxifying yourself on the cellular level. Start uh, awakening your mitochondria. Simple things. Changing the diet, bringing oxygen, coming out and under the sun, get some light. It doesn't have to, it's free. A lot of things are actually free. It doesn't have to be expensive. If you can afford to go and have red light therapy, do so. If you can afford to have peptides, go for it. If you can go in hyperbaric chamber, good for you. But if you can't afford that, if you don't have access to it, you still can use it. It's all here. Okay, certain powerful foods to heal mitochondria. Anything, again, it's good to know your biology and your DNA, because if you have the DNA pathways that are mutated in specific pathways, like say mitochondria, not mitochondria, methylation. So methylation, if you have this methyl group mutation in your DNA, then you could be the person who needs to be on animal protein. You need to eat organ meats. See what I'm saying? If you don't have that mutation, then you could go with clean vegetarian, vegan, and it's fine. But what mitochondria absolutely loves is anything that has low sugar. Okay? Anything that doesn't have pesticides. So you have to remove. I'm talking about on the primitive level. I don't want you to go crazy, because once people start, and I myself went through this phase. I think it's a phase of, healthy living. You start going crazy and start throwing away everything from the refrigerator, just being paranoid and thinking about toxins, which on itself toxic. So common sense, remove toxins from food, meaning that buy as organic as possible, as clean as possible. Remove sugar from your body. Make it as like variety rich as possible. Bring as much variety into your diet as possible. Feed your microbiome. Not necessarily take probiotics, which is fine. I'm not against probiotics, but bring food which is prebiotic to your microbiome. Feed it. So, like for example, sulforaphane. People take sulforaphane as supplement, but you can take sulforaphane in the form of food. Broccoli sprouts have a lot of sulforaphane that makes them stinky, but that's the thing that helps to remove toxins from your body and feeds your mitochondria. You see? But then again, depends on your genes. Like for example, like I said, some people need to be on animal products. They need to have organ meats, because when you eat those organ meats, you receive those minerals, trace elements that your body needs. It's a good question. I hope I answered. So that is my talk about mitochondria, mighty mitochondria. And by the way, there is a course that's coming out. I'm going to release that course in the new year, which has a lot of information, a lot of education about DNA, about mitochondria. And I try to, because this is the way I think and I see, to bring spirituality and modern science together in one space. The book about breathwork is in my bio. You could see it in the link tree. You can find it there. The course is coming out soon. The course is coming out soon. But then we're going to have this series where we're going to be talking. Founder, CEO, and Scrubs is wild. What? Oh, this. I am founder and CEO. I founded a couple of companies, and I am CEO. Yeah, believe it or not. I run my own life. I eat what I kill, and I kill what I need to eat. Just kidding. Yeah. Wild. Anything else, guys? I'm so grateful you guys came, you participated, you're listening to my rumble. Healing is better. Yeah, healing is better. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Healing starts from you, from within. Yeah. So now, why don't we just go into breath work? Why don't we do this? So, before we start the breath work, what I want you to do, guys, I want you to drop in the comment what emotion, predominant emotion, you guys experience today. Anxiety, fear, or guilt, or frustration, anger. Which one of them? Drop it. And then we will see whichever is more dominant, we're going to make a breath work for that. Come on, let's go. Drop it. Man, while stupid AI wants to know if I'm real. Empty. Empty good or empty bad? Anxiety. Okay. Empty is usually, it could be like peaceful empty or empty, drained empty. So specify anxiety. Okay. So I'm going to teach you something. First of all, when you feel anxious, calm my mind, which is also part of empty, drained. Yes, this is running on empty. Okay, got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. So it looks like it's more like a racing mind, racing because you feel like you need to do so many things and you have to cover so many things. And if you're not going to do it, you're going to be punished or you're going to die for starvation. So, and then you're angry with yourself and then you're frustrated. So it's basically one creates the other. First of all, there is a position when you in bed, a position called fetal position, but not when you're on your side, but you're on your back and you take your knees and pull all the way towards your chest and you hug your knees and you just lay down and relax your pelvis completely. So if you in a position right now and you can lay down, go ahead and do that. Lay down on the floor, lay down on the bed, and then pull your knees towards your chest, hug your knees, and just slowly breathe. Slow, deep breath. Usually go through your belly. You can do it through your nose or you can do it through your mouth. Right now, it doesn't matter. But just slow, very slow, like going. Inhale and then slow exhale. So every time when you feel anxious, uncomfortable, keep going, keep breathing, slow. Inhale and exhale. And as you're breathing, I'm going to explain what you're doing right now to your body. If you don't want to sit, if you don't want to be in that position, you can just do sitting, close your eyes, and breathe slow. Now, imagine if you are breathing and you're sniffing something through your nose 4 times. So inhale will be 4 times through your nose. And then exhale through your nose 4 times. No stops in between. Keep going with the same rhythm. In, 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 out, 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 out. In, 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 out, 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 out. In 30 seconds or so, you start feeling a little dizzy, lightheaded. You can slow down with in, 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 out, 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 out. So what you're doing, especially if you're laying down and you're doing this, doing this breathing, you are sending messages to your body. Your body has a memory. Keep breathing, guys, don't stop. Your body has a memory. Your muscle has a memory. So when you in embryo in the mama's womb, this was the position when you were in the mama's womb, surrounded by beautiful warm waters. Everything was taken care of. You didn't have to think about bills. You didn't have to think about your responsibilities because you didn't have any. All you had to be just be. And the only thing that you heard maybe mama's heartbeat. And then you knew everything is okay, floating in the waters, comfortable. So when you in that position, you are reminding your body, because it's in your DNA, it's in your memory, reminding that I'm safe. Okay? I'm safe, I'm taken care of. The food is coming, the love is here. I'm good, I'm protected. And by breathing, you are balancing your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, where now you're awake, which is your sympathetic, but then your parasympathetic nervous system is saying peace, calm, everything is good, we're all good, life is good, you're safe. So do that for 3 to 5 minutes every day, and you'll see how much your nervous system will shift. And I will be giving you more and more of these exercises as we move along. And when we're going to have Guru with us next time, we will have also meditation. So we're going to have a lot of fun. And you will be learning all these little tricks, very easy to do tricks. And you will stay healthy and beautiful. As you always, you're beautiful, but you're going to stay even healthier and more beautiful. So I guess that completes our session today. The next session will be after the holidays. I will still go live. I'm going to do live, but like a masterclassy type of sessions will be later. Is it self-healing, doctor? Of course it's self-healing. Your body knows how to heal itself. It has a code inside you, in your DNA. And with breath work, with breathing, you're just switching and flipping switches of your genes and creating what you want. But you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. Okay? So for those who are on TikTok, please get on, register, because we don't know when we're going to have the next one. We don't have a date yet. It's going to be after the holidays. But if you've registered on my link tree, then you will get notification and you're not going to miss it. Yeah. Consistency is the key. Always, 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 always. So happy holidays, everybody. For my TikTokers, I will see you in my lives, hopefully tomorrow. For non-TikTokers, I will see you. Oh, Code became the number 9 fan in the club. Oh, okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. So, love you guys. Happy holidays.